X-Men. You were the X-Men.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to House of Power. We are here for movie number 10. There's only one more X-Men movie after this, guys, and the two Deadpool movies. This is our live-action X-Men and Deadpool in review. My name is Kyle, guys. We got our Wolverine hat, our X-Men shirt here. Thanks for checking out the channel. Go check out the other content. And, guys, if you haven't seen the series before, I'm going to give my thoughts on the movie. We're here for X-Men Dark Phoenix. I'm going to give a favorite character a score to 10, and then the rankings to the previous 9 movies. Let's go. Guys, why does this movie exist? I feel like I've asked that in a couple of these X-Men movies. The X-Men series, or the franchise as a whole, I appreciate, but man, there are a couple of ones up here, and then there's a lot of stuff at the bottom. I feel like there was a varying range of quality. I heard, through the grapevine and all this stuff when this came out, I was like, oh, Dark Phoenix is terrible, and I'm like, it's probably not that bad. And even though I had a decent enough time watching this, when I look back and I reflect and I think on the scenes and the motives behind this movie and some of the choices that were made, it's a pretty bad movie. And let's talk about number one, Mystique's death. And also, guys, I don't know if this was a Jennifer Lawrence thing or if this was a makeup thing. Mystique looked so good in the first X-Men, the original movies, like amazingly good. And I think that was all CG. And then I think they went with more of a practical look for Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. And in this one, I feel like she barely transforms, but also I feel like she just looks bad as Mystique. Like the face doesn't quite match up. It looks like there's less and less makeup. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that was like a Jennifer Lawrence thing or a budget thing or what, but it just didn't look good. And so that kind of took the fun out of the character. And then Mystique is supposed to be known for being like this, almost like this hitman or this hit woman. And she goes in and she's like really good at, disguising herself as other people. And I feel like she didn't do any of that. So Mystique's death didn't really hit me. And it was just weird the way they shot it where, Sansa Stark, or I should say, Dark Phoenix or Jean Grey, she's like, get away from me. And she, uses the Dark Phoenix power. And then it like pans up to Mystique's face. And I'm like, she's probably dead on something, but like, why wouldn't you just show that? They like slowly pan down to it. I don't know. I think it was for dramatic effect, but it didn't hit me. What's up with Magneto, dude? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he killing people? Is he not killing people? Is he taking over the world? Is he helping out the X-Men? Like, I feel like this man is flip-flopping left and right. And I'm like, this is such a cool character and he's so powerful. Especially that scene in the train, dude, where he just like, he turns the train over, then crunches it and then like lets it go. Really cool. But man, I can't have the X-Men and the X-Men's, I guess, enemies or people in like normal clothes. And I cannot have Jessica Chastain, who I loved in Interstellar. They made her like absolutely zero makeup. The ugliest, one of the ugliest women I've ever seen.
Come on, Murph. Don't make me leave like this, Murph.
I can't stand when they take like alien races or whatever and they look like normal people. Either be a mutant or be an alien, or that's it. But like this was just so boring that it was like Jessica Chastain and she's like taking bullets and stuff, and that was cool, especially when like Magneto turns all the guns on her and she's walking through it. Sorry, there's a fly in my apartment. It's just Jessica Chastain in like a trench coat, and I'm like, this isn't terrifying to me. And she's just standing next to Jean Grey the whole time, and I'm just like, dude. The movie starts promising where they go and they're like, oh, we're going into space now, and like, I guess so. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, this isn't as fun as I thought. And they go up and they save the astronauts. And all I could think of was like, come on, TARS, and the space shuttle spinning.
Come on, TARS! Come on, TARS!
And Cyclops hits it to slow the thrusters down. I'm like, this is cool. They work together as a team, and the X-Men as a team are so cool. But then Jean has to try and save them, and at the last second, she absorbs like this whole piece of energy, and they're like, you should have died. And then we later find out, oh, this thing is like the light of the universe or something, but it destroys everything in its path except for you. And I'm like, why is Jean different? And we know she's like a class 5 mutant, but like they didn't really explain why she was chosen. And the effects when she turns in Dark Phoenix weren't cool. Like I was waiting for her eyes to go black and like her to turn into this thing, but she just had like these marks, almost like Rennie Shep in Mass Effect, except not nearly as cool. These are like marks that go up in her face. It just like lit up her face a little bit. And I'm like, dude, the effects in this movie were lacking. And it's just too bad, man, because there's choices in this movie that are made that like are just I feel like not true to the character. Like, what about Beast, dude? And I've grown on this Beast. Why did Hank just go, actually, the real enemy is you, Charles? And I'm like, dude, you've been with Charles the whole time. And even Charles is like, all I do is try to help these people and unlock their potential. And he's like, no, you're the enemy. And it's like, Charles Xavier is not the enemy here, dude. And they try to make him as a bad guy. And then they have this fight scene in New York. And like, it's like Magneto versus Charles, but not in the way that we anticipated it. And Cyclops is like really mad and trying to protect Jean and stuff. And I don't know, man. This is just like such a messy movie. And it just felt super inconsequential. And when you have events like X-Men Apocalypse, which seemed kind of weird, but like, oh hey, like maybe the whole Earth is going to be destroyed, and then they kind of just chill with Jean here, and I'm like, I just wasn't really feeling this Sophie Turner performance. I don't think she's a bad actress at all, but she felt kind of out of place, or I just wasn't like connecting to her Jean Grey. So there's just a lot of things in this movie that missed for me, and I think this is just not a very good film overall. Okay, guys, my favorite character in this one, I'm going to go with Charles Xavier. James McAvoy, once again, I thought he was good. I don't think much of the supporting cast was great. I did like Hank's performance, but his choice to just like betray McAvoy and then join Magneto was weird. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Why did you just turn on him? So James McAvoy, I think he does a good job. I never really felt like he was commanding the room, but I think in terms of the group that we had here, James McAvoy did a serviceable job, and I think he's my favorite one out of this kind of cast of characters that I don't love. I do and appreciate that we've had a lot of screen time with them, so I've grown to like them more. But I think he was kind of the standout between just not a great group. Guys, that brings us to the score, guys. This is a 5-1. This is the new lowest score. I was thinking about putting this ahead of Apocalypse, ahead of X-Men Origins Wolverine, but then I was thinking like, what really happened in this movie? The alien race that Jessica Chastain was like not explained, and she's like, "Oh, we were just following this light," but then they just kind of pop down on Earth, and then the first lady they see is Jessica Chastain, and then they kind of like imitate her or turn into her, almost like the Skrulls in the MCU. But then there's just a bunch, they just look like a bunch of regular people, and it's like that's just not appealing to me, dude. So like that was weird. Why they were there is weird. They were chasing the slide, I guess, but then like Jean had to touch her to transfer it, but then if she did that, it was gonna blow everyone up. But then there was no like moment where Jean's like, oh, I know how to control this now. She was just like, oh, I'm gonna fly up to space and it's gonna explode. And I was like, what? And I guess she sacrificed herself. And then they named the school after Jean, and I was like, dude, it's not Jean's school. It's Charles's school, dude. Like Jean didn't deserve that. And so I don't know, man. The Mystique death was kind of weird. Also, I didn't think Hank and Mystique were super close, or Hank and Raven. So that was weird that he was like really upset. Jean goes to Magneto, and then Magneto's like, "Oh, I didn't stop killing people. I don't know, dude. I don't even remember. It's just confusing, and it was bad, and I just don't think this movie was necessary, and I don't think there was any really standout scene. The train scene was kind of cool, but I I don't know, man. Just not a good film. Guys, that brings us to the rankings. Again, this is our new lowest point there. So number one, guys, just recapping, we have X-Men Days of Future Past at 9.5. Number two, X-Men The Last Stand at 9.4. Number three is Logan at 9.1. Number four is X-Men at 8.1. Number five is The Wolverine, 7.1. Number six, X2, X-Men United is 6.6. Number seven, X-Men First Class is 6.2. Number eight, X-Men Apocalypse, 5.4. Number nine, X-Men Origins Wolverine at 5.2. And the new lowest movie, X-Men Dark Phoenix at a 5.1. I had it in my head below First Class, above Apocalypse, and then right below Apocalypse, above Origins Wolverine. But I just thought about, like, do I want to watch this movie again? And when I rank these guys, I rank on quality of movie, but also how good is it as an X-Men movie, but also how fun is it? How good are the effects? How good are the character moments? And varying factors go into the score I give it and how I rank it. But as alone on its own, I'm like, I would rather watch any of these movies before I rewatch this movie, because even though I didn't like X-Men Origins Wolverine, it still had Hugh Jackman, and it still had like a story. You still got to see Wolverine's origin. Apocalypse, I didn't think was great at all, obviously, but that still had kind of big stakes where it's like, oh, I make fun of Magneto up there just like spinning the metal around, but there were still like real stakes, like we have to save the planet. With this movie, I'm like, Jean Grey she was never super intriguing, and the power was confusing, and then they never explained how she controlled it, and then she went up to space and blew up, and I don't know, man. I didn't feel like her sacrifice was like, oh, that's how she did. She saved everyone, and again, it was just weird. Beast turning on Charles, I thought was weird. So just a weird movie, and I think it belongs to the bottom of the list. All right, guys, that's another episode of House of Power. 10 movies down, guys. 1 X-Men movie to go and 2 Deadpool movies to go. So 3 total. We're going to finish up with the New Mutants next time. Expectations are low. I don't really know much about it, but we'll see where it ranks in this list, guys. That's all I got. Appreciate you guys. Until next time. Peace.